Today, we're going to go over 10 mistakes that I wish I would have known when I first started learning how to code. Let's get into it. 1, pick a coding language. One of the biggest things is we think we have to learn all these different coding languages at once, and it really doesn't matter. You just need to pick a language and learn that. Don't be like me and try to learn 3 different languages at first, right off the bat. Try to learn one language and get a really good understanding of that language, because what you'll find out is when you move to a different language, while the syntax is a lot different, it's still the same stuff. It's doing the same thing. So focus on one language. Do not bounce around from language to language. It will not be beneficial for you, especially in the early journey of computer programming. 2, start using Git immediately. Using the terminal is so important. You're just pushing to your origin, pulling from your repository, whatever it is, start using Git as early as possible and get used to using the terminal. So intimidated by the terminal for so long. Even to this day, a little bit intimidated. It's so important to be using a terminal and get comfortable with moving around your machine, the terminal. 3, not practicing enough. Repetition is what allows us to become good at something. I think there's like a rule of like 10,000 hours, whatever it may be. But within that 10,000 hours, it's repetition of doing something over and over and over. And it's so important to try to code at least a little bit each day to keep driving it, even if it's something simple, but the repetition starts to make it stick a little bit. I'm doing it every day. Building habits takes 90 days. That comes from repetition of doing something that is valuable for you. 4, actually practicing my coding readability. I was notorious for my naming conventions being super simple because I felt like nobody else was going to look at it, and not putting comments in my code to like break it in sections. And why maybe it won't be beneficial in the terms of somebody else has got to read it. It's good to get your mindset set and to have proper naming conventions for variables in commenting code. That way you can see where things are, even if it's something simple. If you're just doing HTML, break it down, what each parse is, and get used to doing that as part of your coding. That way, when you do get a professional job, I think it's going to be super beneficial. 5, when you are working on your own personal projects, I think it is important to learn the basics and build a lot of things up your own as you're learning. I also think that when you are building your own personal project, don't reinvent the wheel. And a good way for me to demonstrate this is using Bootstrap, right? For my CSS, making buttons and layout. Use that stuff. Why not? As long as you can understand how you're connecting it and working with it, use the things that are already made. That's why they're there. If you don't completely understand, then do a little tutorial or a YouTube video and try to understand it. But I think we use the tools that we have. I don't think we should get all the answers, and we should try to understand how and why we're doing certain things. 6, striving for protection is another one. Once again, this kind of plays in with everything else, is that if you're like me, I feel like I need to understand it all the way, and I can't move forward unless I've perfected it, or I know, like even just YouTube channel, I feel like the video has to be perfect. Everything has to be perfect before I even start. Before going to church, I felt like I needed to be perfect. I needed to have everything perfect. The reality is that we're never going to be perfect in anything we do. And if you're trying to get perfection, especially early on, it's just unattainable, and you're going to put yourself in a rut, and it's just not going to work to your advantage. Don't do it. 7, comparing yourself to others. This is a big one for me because I got connected with some groups early on, and I felt like these people were new and they understood so much more than I did. And it was really discouraging because I felt like I wasn't learning fast enough. I should be doing something different, that I'm doing something wrong. And the truth is, everybody learns at a different pace. Like, there are so many variables that go into us gaining education, especially computer programming. You just can't compare yourself to other people. There's so many other things that are going into that you just, there's too many variables. 8, not getting hooked up with a group. Going to a meetup, finding someone on the online, YouTube or something, and getting connected with people that have the same mindset that you do. If you're like me, competition helps me go a little bit further, right? And that's why it's so important to get connected with other groups, get connected with other people that have the same mindset you do, or on the same journey that you do, and you guys can push each other up the hill, because the hill is steep, it's difficult, and you need someone to help. 9, I remember early on hearing people say, think like a programmer, think like a programmer. When I heard it the first time, I think I took it the wrong way, and I was thinking like, yeah, I gotta think like how to use semicolon. With that being said, I've learned that thinking like a programmer is a little more like problem solving. It's a little more like thinking how a process works. And me doing flowcharts is what helped me the most with understanding this principle of thinking like a programmer. Programmer thinks, how do we do something, and what's every variable, every which way that it can go, because business logic is walking through what a user needs to do. So beginning to the end and what can happen in every portion of that. So for me, thinking like a programmer is to overthink a process, which I feel like is a good quality, and it's a quality I have. I love to overthink, so I fit in perfect. 10. Next, man, people neglect mental health. I just can't stress this one enough. Proper sleep, proper eating, proper physical activity, finding some way to have fun or relax. It's so important. Whether you're learning computer programming or not, it is so important. Get the sleep you need. Eat healthy food. Try to be active. Get some sunlight. Do these things that will help you so much mentally, just in general, but especially if you're learning computer programming, because it will test your mental ability. Bonus. Giving up, man. And being honest, I learned for about 9 months and I kind of gave up. I got a different job. I was making pretty good money and I put coding on the backside for a few months. Blamed it on AI and it's just not worth it and all that. But really, it was very difficult for me, and it was like wearing me down, right? And like I just kept finding excuse after excuse of why this was a pointless journey. And then I found some signs and I got back on the journey. But I keep thinking like, man, what if I would have never stopped? Where would I be right now? If I would not have stopped my journey when I did and gave up for a few months to go work and do other stuff and have all these excuses of why not, where would I be at right now? Don't give up, man. It's going to feel like giving up. Just last week, I felt like giving up. Don't give up, because every time we give up, every time we put it back to the side, we're just making our goal go that much further back before we can reach our goal. Don't give up. These are just a few tips that I wish I would have done early on in my coding journey. I hope it can help you with your coding journey. If you're curious to what my journeys look like, I've documented almost the whole entire process from beginning till now, and I will continue to document it. So hit subscribe. Thanks for joining me.